So, good evening, everybody. Let's start with our motivation. So, moment by moment, our life is ebbing. Moment by moment, we're approaching our own demise, which means the end of this precious opportunity we have to practice the Dharma now. And at the time we arrive, at the time of our death, there's no way to press the rewind button and go back and live our life a different way. Instead, we just go on into our next life, buffeted around by our afflictions and karma. And while our loved ones and social status and educational degrees and possessions and scrapbooks and everything remains here, even our body, all we take with us is our mental habits and our karma. Excuse me. And so often in our lives, those are the things that we haven't paid much attention to because we've been more interested in our reputation and possessions and having fun and so forth. So before we die, it's very good to really contemplate what's meaningful in our lives. And have a strong determination to use our time wisely. And to use it by engaging in genuine practice, not in merely dancing around practice and putting on a good front that looks like practice, but really in transforming our minds. And one of the chief things we need to work on is our self-centered attitude that always thinks me, I, my, mine. And everything in the universe spins around me. So that self-centered attitude thinks. And so that attitude makes us waste a lot of time, create a lot of negative karma, and completely prevents us from generating bodhicitta and therefore attaining bodhisattva realizations. So you have to really identify that self-centered mind and cut it off at the pass. So that requires a lot of vigilance and a lot of strong determination. So let's generate that vigilance and determination and the compassion for others that will nurture our aspiration for enlightenment. And then with that, then let's want to listen to teachings this evening. So I thought this evening to repeat again the story that I told for today's BBC, but elaborate on it a little bit more, so that we can really go into it in more depth. So yesterday evening I had left the hall after the Chenrezig chanting, and I was walking back to my room, and Susan was at the front door, paused, and I said, "What's happening?" And she said, "I don't know whether to write my name on the board, that I'm not going to the rest of the session." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, there's just a lot of stuff coming up, and I'm tired." Sounds familiar. Yeah, hear this almost every day from somebody. And so I said to her, "Well, do you think that maybe turning to your practice when you have a lot of emotional stuff coming up might help you?" And she paused and considered it and kind of smiled and said, "Maybe." And then she went in here and went to session and felt a lot better afterwards, and began to really, it got her thinking about, well, what does refuge mean in situations when I'm unhappy, and so on. It was interesting, just the week before, also on a Wednesday, I came out of the hall and I bumped into another person who was going to their room. And I said to that person, I said, "What's up?" "Oh, so much is coming up. I need my space." And I said, "Do you think that maybe taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha might help you, work through some of that?" "No." So I walked away. So it was interesting, kind of 2 Wednesdays. So I was really impressed with Susan's openness, It's like I was saying in the BBC, so often we're going one direction, and we've made up this story in our mind about how we have no other choice but to do that, how that's the right thing to do and the only thing to do, and our feelings are completely rational and valid and everything else, and I'm going to do this. And when presented with some new information, we just say, "No." Yeah. And I was very impressed with, Susan was going on that path, and she got some new information, and she thought about it. And then she acted on it, and then she benefited from it. So it really made me think about several things. One of them is the whole idea of being receptive. Yeah? And, having an attitude of openness whereby we can look at ourselves and really question what we're thinking and question what we're doing, and get out of this automatic mode of, I tell myself this and therefore I'm not taking anything else in. So we were discussing it at lunch after the BBC, and Zopa told the story of yesterday. Can I tell the story? Yeah. And she was going out to mow the lawn, and I had noticed that around the fruit trees the grass was very long, and when we do the walking meditation and the concentration retreat, it's nice to be able to walk around the fruit trees, but people can't do it when the lawn is so long. And so I said something about, "Well, are you going to, mow around? Please remember, are you going to mow around the fruit trees?" And she said, well, Matt hasn't mowed around there for a few weeks, and the grass is really long, and it's not going to be good for the lawnmower. It sounds like a good reason. Kind of like all the tables are up in the meditation hall. So I said, okay. And then she got on the lawnmower and started thinking about the interchange and thought, it's not actually that the lawnmower can't go there, it's I don't want to go there. And I thought, I mean, that's brilliant, this kind of honesty with ourselves. You know, it's like I'm making up an excuse about the lawnmower and, you know, ruining the lawnmower because basically I don't feel like doing that. And we do this all the time. Yeah? And I don't always call people on it because it would be too exhausting. But don't think that I always believe what you tell me when you tell me different things. So then she decided to be brave, and she saw that there was a setting on the lawnmower for high grass, and she set it there, and she mowed there, and it worked out fine, and the lawnmower didn't break, and she didn't break either. But it was so nice the way that you were able to catch yourself, and then that you were able to tell the story and laugh at how silly your mind was. Because so often when these things happen, when we get caught in the middle of something, you know, if somebody else sees it, then we feel so embarrassed, and then we belittle ourselves, and we feel embarrassed, and then we blame them even more. The other person, why are you asking that question anyway? It's your fault. You know? Yeah, so I thought it was very lovely that she was able to see it and then tell the story and laugh at herself. Because I think we need to laugh at ourselves when our minds are being so ridiculous. Does your mind ever get ridiculous? My mind gets ridiculous. Yeah. And yet, when we're not aware, sometimes we get so locked into the ridiculous story that if somebody says anything, we just tune them out, or we get angry or whatever. And we're the ones who suffer when that happens. So then today, Susan was asking me, well, you know, how do you use your practice in those times when you're tired, you know, because so much stuff is coming up? So I'll tell a few stories of how that's happened to me. And, oh, another thing Susan said was when she was wondering whether to go into the session or not after we had talked, that, what was it you said? That, that I wasn't, you know, wanting to go to bed wasn't anything, you know, specifically non-virtuous. But the schedule of the Abbey had set it up so that the meditation session went to a certain time. And she reflected, oh, the schedule of the Abbey was set up for a reason to guide us in these kinds of situations. So that helped her to, you know, go back into the meditation session. And so, you know, if you really see the Abbey schedule as that kind of guideline, you know, I mean, clearly if you're sick to your stomach and vomiting, please don't stay in the meditation hall. If you have diarrhea, you don't need to stay in the meditation hall. But, you know, to see that the schedule is something that is there to support us and help us when our mind starts, you know, as you put it, going south or going north, as you want it. Whether you're becoming a Confederate or a Yankee, I don't know. But your mind's going somewhere, and the schedule is to help you hold it at those times, you know? So that's the time when you really turn to the schedule to help you, you know, work with your mind. And so often I have been in situations where I've been tired, or there's been a lot of stuff coming up, or somebody just dumped a whole load of stuff on top of me. But because of the situation, I had no choice. I had to go and do what I was doing. For example, when I'm teaching, do you think, you know, when there's teachings, you know, you come, you don't come, or whatever. But do you think every time I'm scheduled to teach that I feel well? Yeah? Did it ever enter your mind that sometimes the Dharma teacher, whose you know, set of talks has been scheduled months in advance, walks in there and they don't feel well that evening? Or that maybe some student just came and dumped a whole load on them and they're trying to process it? Or maybe they're having their own stuff coming up in their own practice? Did it ever dawn on you? Maybe? Probably not. I don't think so. You know, it dawns on us that I have things coming up and I don't feel well and I don't feel like going. But to think that the teacher sometimes just doesn't feel like going, they would much rather be doing something else, never think of that. Okay? But sometimes that's the situation. But the thing is that when you're in that role, you don't have a choice. Yeah, and this is sometimes the nice thing about having a daily schedule. It's like, I'm doing this, I don't have a choice. So it makes you push through those times. I mean, there have been times when I've been really, really sick, and then I just have to say, please excuse me. Yeah, and I don't go. But that's very seldom. I have to be pretty sick. You know, like that one talk in Indonesia that I didn't go to. I remember some years ago, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago in Raleigh, I didn't go to a talk because I had the flu and a high fever, you know, but it happens very seldom. The rest of the times I have a stomach ache, I have who knows what, you know, a cold, doesn't matter, I go. You know, that whole, what was it? Oh, the whole retreat in at Vajrapani, where I got pneumonia. I was teaching that whole retreat until I got to the point where they said, you have pneumonia, and then, you know, I went to bed. Okay? But, so I'm not saying to push ourselves when we're really, really ill, you know, but I'm just saying that sometimes because of the position I'm in, I don't really have a choice, and I have to go ahead with something. You know, if there's people wanting there to hear the Dharma, you know, and if they don't tell me I have a pneumonia, I think it's a bad cold, well, I go. You know, even though I felt like I had been hit over the head with an iron frying pan. So what I'm getting at is that has, while it's been difficult for me, it's also been very good because it's made me push through a number of things where my mind would have otherwise said, just go to bed, you know, just, you know, take out a novel. You know, whatever it is, whatever your thing is that you do to distract yourself. You know, and the situation hasn't enabled, you know, I haven't had to do that, so I've had to push through. And that's been a very good experience in many ways, because I've discovered that very often when I don't feel well, after I teach, I feel much better. Quite amazing. Yeah, because when you're teaching, you don't have any space in your mind for the thought, I don't feel well. If you have that thought, you're doomed. You can't give the talk, So you just vanquish that thought. And you just focus on what needs to be done, because there's a group there of people who want to hear the Dharma. So you focus on that. So it's very interesting, because you can really learn a lot of things about yourself and do things that you didn't think you could do before. Yeah. So that's one thing that I thought is good to share. But then another one about it, how do you use your practice when you're upset or things are coming up? I think the key thing is refuge, and refuge isn't just I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in Dharma, I take refuge in Sangha, Amen. It's, what are you doing when you're turning to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for spiritual guidance? What are you actually doing with your mind? Are you saying, I expect Buddha to swoop down and save me, followed by Dharma and Sangha? Are you just saying, I take refuge as blah, blah, because that's what you do at the beginning of everything? Or what does, what does taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha mean? If we understand that, Dharma, the word Dharma, in one of the meanings in Sanskrit means to hold, So it holds you back from suffering. It prevents suffering. Yeah. So if we think of the Dharma as holding us back from suffering, when we take refuge in the Dharma, we're taking refuge in the teachings that can be transformed into mental states in our own mind when we practice them, and those mental states hold us back from our suffering. Yeah? So when we take refuge in the Dharma, we're trying to get our minds to specific, more realistic and beneficial mental states, and we do that by relying on the teachings. So very often at that time, if you take out a Dharma book and read it, and think about what it says, you'll find that it'll help you adjust your way of thinking. Or if you recite one of the texts that we do after lunch, and think about the meaning of what you're reciting, I guarantee if you recite the 37 practices, whatever problem you have, you will find the answer to it in those 37 verses. You don't need to look beyond those 37. Yeah? So the thing is to remember to do that. Now, when our mind is acting up, what is going to prevent me from suffering? It's not taking refuge in my old habits. Going to the bar, smoking a joint, turning on the TV, the radio, the computer, the iPod, the iPad. Yeah. It's not going to be in, having 15 dozen chocolate chip cookies. It's not going to be in calling up your friend and gossiping. It's, our real refuge is to work on the mind inside here and to use the Dharma to do that. So, when I had said to her, try using your practice, I was talking about that. Especially when your mind's in turmoil. You sit down and you sit there and you just watch all these thoughts, and you do your best not to buy into them. At the beginning it's hard because the mind is so used to all these thoughts, and the thoughts of course say get up and go have some cookies, get up and go jogging, get up and go play with your cat or your dog or your parakeet or whatever it is. Yeah, but you sit and you watch those thoughts, and you start to evaluate and observe, well, what's realistic in these thoughts? Is this the way the situation really is? Yeah, Ruby was telling me that yesterday she had a little conversation with herself because she was angry, you know, and she looked at the object of negation, and she looked at what her mind was saying, and then she just said, is that true? Well, no, it's not true. Yeah? And so often, you know, when we're upset, when we're angry, what our mind is saying, especially when we're imputing motivations onto other people's actions, or we're imputing meaning onto other people's words, we're, you know, completely fabricating a situation that doesn't exist in the least, and then getting upset at our own creation. So it's very helpful at those times, you know, how do we use our practice? We watch this stuff and we ask ourselves, is this true? Is this true? Yeah. And we pull ourselves out of our old habit patterns of, yes, this person is doing this and they're doing that and blah, 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 blah. The same broken record. You know that broken record? You know, the one you do every time somebody does something you don't like? The same old thing? Yeah. Oh, this person, you know, depends what your issue is. For some people, this person's discriminating against me because I'm blah, blah. People are always discriminating against me. For somebody else, it's, you know, oh, they don't like me. They're rejecting me, because everybody always rejects them, because that's the story they tell themselves. Or somebody else says, everybody's always abandoning me, because that's the story they tell themselves. Yeah. Or nobody appreciates me, because they're so absorbed in themselves they don't appreciate how wonderful I am, because that's the story they tell themselves. Yeah. Or nobody understands me. Yeah, my whole life nobody understands me. You know, and because that's the story that person tells themselves. You know, so we do this, don't we? We have our favorite story. It is so boring. Isn't it? Your favorite story, it is so boring. It's how you react to everything. Same old story, isn't it? Yeah, and we know the conclusion. And we know, you know, the more we recite this story, the worse we feel. But we take refuge in the story. Whatever our story is. And we recite it again. And we're more miserable than before. And then we feel more sorry for ourselves. And then we go have more ice cream. Yeah? So, you know, when we're upset, that's the time to really turn to your practice and use your practice. Identify what feeling you have. Identify it. I am angry. You know, there's nothing wrong in identifying anger in yourself. Don't go to the thing, well, I'm Buddhist, I'm not supposed to be angry. It's not a question of what you're supposed to be. If you're angry, you're angry. You know? So I'm angry. Now the question is, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to indulge it, or am I going to change the way I think? Okay? So really deal with these things when they're happening. Yeah? And use your practice. So, one personal story about this. Once upon a time, at the Abbey, in a year I won't mention, with a person I won't mention, who I was working with on a manuscript that I won't mention, this person was saying things to me that they were being so insulting, you can't imagine. You know, he's supposed to be helping me, and he's insulting me and insinuating this and insinuating that and degrading it. It had nothing to do with me. I was not projecting anything. This was coming from him. Hmm? Right? Right? All his fault? All his fault. Really so insulting. If I told you what this person said, and he really should have known better, because he was supposed to be a good role model. So I was really upset. And that night was Sok Puja. And, you know, I don't have the choice in this community to say, sorry, I don't feel like going to Sok tonight, I'm upset. Or, sorry, I can't go to Sok tonight because I'm tired. Yeah, I don't have that choice to say that. Yeah, so I went to Sok that night. So we're doing, you know, as we're just from the very beginning of taking refuge, visualizing the merit field, I put my full concentration into doing the practice. And, you know, when I was thinking about refuge, it was like, but the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and all my teachers understand me, you know. Just because this person doesn't understand me, isn't insulting me, doesn't mean I need to get so bummed out. Somebody understands me. Yeah. And then I was thinking, and the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are my real friends. You know, because the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, whatever they do, is going to be for my benefit. And I don't have to get bummed out by what this one person was saying to me. Yeah, because they're not my object. This person isn't my object of refuge. You know, my teachers and the three jewels are my object of refuge. And I'm turning to them and thinking of them and thinking of their good qualities and thinking of how they accept me, even though I have faults. Maybe I have a few faults. Maybe that was what this guy was saying. Maybe. But, you know, just really taking refuge. And then, you know, when you do Sok, you are sitting there creating this whole Pure Land. And you're having a relationship with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, bowing and making offerings and reviewing the long rim and having this whole, you know, festival. And it's just, you know, these are my objects of refuge. This is where I'm putting my attention. This is what's really important to me. And I enjoyed Sok so much that night. Yeah. It was just beautiful because I really got into the visualization. When I was making the offerings, I really had some feeling because I so much appreciated the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha because they were going to save me from, you know, this misery by teaching me how to think and how to transform my mind. Yeah. So you're making the request prayers, making prostrations and offerings. It had so much more meaning, actually, because I had been in a suffering mental state before. And I knew that doing this practice was going to be the thing that changed me. Yeah? So, you know, I really recommend sometimes when you're upset or whatever, do your practice and really put your focus and your concentration into it and create that relationship with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And remember their qualities and remember how they understand you and they don't judge you and they don't insult you and do all these things that other people are doing who you think are out to get you but who aren't really. Yeah. And so it really makes your practice so much stronger. It really brings your practice to life. And I remember one time, this must have been, wow, 36 years ago, it was before I ordained. And I was back in the US about to visit my parents, and the situation was pretty tumultuous because they didn't like the idea of me going back to Nepal and ordaining. And I was watching my mind, you know, kind of go into its own habitual reaction to the way what I do when my parents say certain things. Because you know how especially it is with your family or people you know very well. Push button, boing! And we do the same thing we've been done since 3 or 4 years old, don't we? You know? You're 83, push button. Same! ridiculous emotional habit pattern. So, so I remember that time, catching that, and doing the Tara practice, and really taking refuge in Tara, and imagining Tara in front of me or above my head, and so much green light coming, just coming, purifying. And what she was purifying was all my bad mood, all my habitual way of feeling hurt and guilty and all that kind of stuff, because I had a whole tangled up mess reaction with my parents. And she's purifying all of that. She's purifying my bad feeling, my depression, my everything. And I just sat there and visualized the green light and chanted the mantra for about maybe half an hour. Finished my session. It was gone. Bad mood was gone. Yeah. So it's when I talk about, you know, turning to your practice when you're having trouble, this is what you do. Yeah? And if you really do it sincerely, it works. It works, for sure it works. You know? And there's some times when your mind is really stuck, you have to do it again and again and again and again. You know, after I left Italy in my fun time with Sam, I went to do retreat, and I was angry every meditation session, you know, as soon as I thought of Sam. And then I was practicing Shantideva and calmed down. And by the end of the session, it was okay. And then as soon as I thought, you know, I got distracted from what I had been thinking about and thought of what Sam did, I got mad again. And so I had to practice the antidote to anger again, you know. So you do this again and again and again, but it really helps you to set new patterns, you know. And that article that I found, that I put downstairs, you know, the scientists talk about it in terms of neuroplasticity, and whatever you're thinking or feeling, you're setting up that neural pathway. And so if you can, you know, instead of reinforcing the same old one that goes with our same old ridiculous reaction, if we learn to think differently, then we're reinforcing a different neural pathway. And of course, the more time you put into something, the easier it goes. We all know that working in the forest. The more you walk down that trail, the easier it is, because the trail becomes clearer. Yeah. So in all those things, so we just have to keep doing it. Okay, questions, comments? Oh, yeah.
I noticed that for me, sometimes I feel like I've certainly done this thing where I'm tired and I go to my room, right?
Yeah, we've noticed you've done that.
Yeah, you have. But sometimes I feel like I get so into the routine of I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. It feels really positive to break that I have to do it feeling.
Okay.
And I do, and those times, just particularly when I'm like working with something that's really challenging, I do my practice in my room, but I just have to, like, I guess I don't have to do anything. I wish I could stop using that kind of language, but but I find it really beneficial to be by myself, and I feel like that is what helps me renew my refuge. Like that I go back to the place that got me here, and that was by myself. I was practicing alone, and I find that to be really rejuvenating.
Okay, so you're saying that sometimes it's just very helpful for you to be alone and do your practice, and that rejuvenates you.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the difference between sitting in your room when you're completely focused doing your meditation and sitting in the meditation hall when you're completely focused doing your meditation?
Well, For me, it's that I'm looking at people. I can't.
Why are you looking at people?
I just, my eyes do that.
Oh, you're supposed to have your eyes lowered.
I know I'm supposed to have my eyes lowered.
So then in your room, you're looking up. Oh, there's Karuna, there's Maitri, there's the dresser, there's the altar, there's the birds, there's the...
For me, I find it challenging to sit for an hour. And so I can do about 15 minutes of sort of nice concentration, and then I look up. It just happens. My concentration is not strong enough to be able to keep my eyes lowered for that time.
Okay. So you look up and you see some people.
Right, and I'm saying that when I'm feeling really afflicted, I tend to just like...
Do you want him sitting behind you? You're getting the razor's glare every 15 minutes?
I'm sure people have felt it.
You want him to sit behind you because I never see this because he sits behind me.
And also, it's this feeling like I'm trying to cultivate the capacity to be able to do this long term, sort of. So, like I say, like that. It's helpful for me to do my practice by myself because I feel like this rejuvenating feeling. I'm not able to do that yet in the meditation hall, and I've been getting better at being able to do that. But while
so, how many feet away do you need to be from a person before you can feel rejuvenated?
I don't know.
I think you should sit in different parts of the meditation hall and see, kind of if they're there, and sit in how many feet is it? I have to sit 3 feet away from them. Maybe if you go and sit outside, leave the hall and then go sit in the dirt outside.
Are we allowed to do that? I really didn't think that was an option.
Well, I'm allowing you now. Yeah, it's closer than your room. Go sit in the dirt. Yeah, the glass is in front of you. See if that helps. And check how many feet away do you need to be from somebody before you feel that you have your own space.
Yeah, okay.
And don't step over him when you come out of the And then you have to report back after that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Next time I'm in a bad mood, which I'm sure it'll be next week sometime. Tomorrow.
Yeah, and you do the whole rest of the session. You go sit outside, where you can see inside, and they know you're there, and then you see how that works. Okay.
If you have, sometimes I have super just anxiety, crazy, and if I have a severe problem, really agitated, will this work, you think?
I think it works.
Okay.
It's certainly worth a try, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because behind anxiety, there's always a story. Yeah, you can see a story in your mind going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you need to stop the story because the story is making the anxiety. Yeah, and so sometimes, this is why I find the practices of visualization very helpful. Is because it completely takes me to relating to a holy being and saying the mantra. And of course, with Tara or Chenrezig or whatever, they don't have that story. So why should I have that story?
See, I tried that one time, and unfortunately, I still had literally my blood pressure was through the roof, and I tried meditating, and didn't help. I still had this severe pain on this side, pain in the back, and I tried. Usually it worked, But that one time,
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on, but I ended up going to the doctor and they said, well, take this pill. Okay, I said, fine. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay, but you said that other times you've meditated and it's worked.
Yeah,
So just because one time it didn't work doesn't mean you stop doing it.
no, I just hope that it, like maybe next time when I do have something like that going on, maybe it will work. We'll have-
Yeah, why not? If it's worked before, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and especially if you're very kind to yourself, you know, don't go, I have to get rid of this anxiety. Okay,
Right.
don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, you know, my mind's going off on some story. Let's change my conversation, you know, my attention, and then, you know, I find if I imagine the Buddha's eyes, just the way the Buddha's eyes look, that already makes my mind much calmer. Yeah? Or if I really sink my mind into the energy of a mantra, you know, if I'm saying a mantra very quickly, and just the energy of the mantra, and sink my mind into that, that helps a lot too.
Okay.
What about the situation where there are a lot of emotions, you try Dharma tools, but it's almost like at that moment it doesn't work. It's like you take, you know, you say the right words, but they don't sink in. It's kind of flat, and then that anger can turn almost like impatience.
Yeah, well that's because it is impatience. It's like, come on Tara, you're supposed to solve my problem. It's the same story, isn't it? You
Or
know.
you just say the words and they just don't.
Yeah, but I think that's because over time we have to cultivate a relationship with the three jewels over time. It's like cultivating a friendship. Yeah, when you first meet somebody, they aren't going to be your friend right away. You know them, you know, you have to cultivate a friendship over time. So it's the same way with the three jewels. You have to cultivate that relationship.
So in that regard then, would that be better just to walk away for a while and just chill out and come back and continue developing a relationship rather than just get angry at that friend that you would like to develop a wonderful friendship with?
Listen to her.
It's like it's the yes but. It's the whole ego navigating with this little sports car that's trying to avoid every, you know, it's the yes but, and it's over here, and then it's going to negotiate over here, and it's just missing the whole point. But Jack and I have been talking about it this week. This mental, I don't know if it's a mental fact or not, justification. You know, I am an expert on justifying everything non-virtuous and then having nothing to stand on when I really want to justify my virtue. I use it for all the wrong reasons. And I convince myself that when I'm really struggling with an affliction, that I can justify disappearing and leaving myself and abandoning myself, which that's what that's all about. You know, and I'm just talking about Semke, is that when I go back to that place of needing space, needing to rest, and needing to chill, is I am abandoning myself. I'm abandoning my practice. I'm abandoning the support of this community. Which, when I'm sitting in the hall and I'm struggling, I have to be held by this community. I'm not like Jack. I can't work these things out by myself, because the justification just becomes stronger and stronger, and the self-pity becomes stronger and stronger. I've got to sit between Venerable Tarp and Venerable Chuni and just sit there and just let them hold me in that space. But justification is bad news. And we're all experts at it. We're all experts at it.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely, I found it easier to practice when the suffering is explicit. Like I was forced to sit next to someone at work that I really disliked for 2 years. It was 8 verses of thought transformation every day.
Mm-hmm.
I did a long retreat on this guy.
Yeah.
It worked so well that he decided to become my friend and tell me his problems. So I was like, I'll do this right now, but at least, nothing. Yeah, so it was quite amazing to see the Dharma work like that.
Yeah.
But I can't catch attachment.
Mm.
Like
Yes.
when it's not clear, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to do when
Yeah.
that happens.
That's the thing. It's the ring in the donkey's nose, and we go off. Yeah, so the thing is just to practice recognizing attachment whenever you can. You have to set up a new habit of recognizing attachment, and then recognizing the faults of attachment. Yeah. And so you have to, that's what part of your vigilance, your introspective awareness has to be checking up on, is when is attachment arising in my mind? Mm-hmm.
It's really helpful to hear what people are saying, because I'm realizing also that when I'm in this place, that it's a little confusing. It's not a clear place when I want to. Also, it's a chill and need space. That's I was going to go to bed, but really it's about that. My being my own Buddha, my own doctor. My solution is to whatever that state is. I think that I know the prescription. And so part of when I was reading about refuge again today, and I'm thinking the Buddha as the doctor, and so could I just, in some of those states when I'm really confused, say, well, maybe your prescription is not the right answer. Even if I don't know, could I just even get that far?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, sometimes we don't understand what the prescription is. Yeah? Or we begin doing what Jack was saying, of saying, I have to. Yeah? And so it's our lack of understanding of what the Dharma remedy is, or our misuse of the Dharma remedy, and that can get us into trouble. Okay? So it's a thing that you learn by trial and error. It's nothing is going to be crystal clear at the beginning, and you're not going to practice once and have everything fall into place. It doesn't work like that, and there's no shortcuts. We just practice and keep trying and learning and doing it again and refining it as we learn from our own experience. Yeah. But this thing about I have to, because it's like if you get into this, okay, I have to offer service, and then I have to have medicine meal, Of course I want to eat medicine meal, but you don't say that. I have to have medicine meal. I have to have medicine meal at 6 o'clock. I want medicine meal at 5:30. I have to have it at 6 o'clock. Then I have to go to practice at 7 o'clock. Then I have to go to bed. Then I have to wake up the next morning. Then I have to, and I have to, and I have to. And I have to brush my teeth. I have to go to the bathroom. Everything becomes a chore, doesn't it? Yeah, because you have to yourself to death. Yeah. So those are the times when this whole idea of you're transforming the activity that you're doing. Yeah, because as soon as you say have to, our mind rebels, doesn't it? And that's why sometimes, if I suggest this kind of thing to people, they're not hearing, oh, this is a technique to try and to play with and to experiment with and to find out how it works for me. They hear it as, I have to go back in that meditation hall, even though I'm tired and in a bad mood, and I have to go back in there and sit there. and count the minutes until that bell rings. Then I can get out of the place, you know. So it's, you know, the problem is not sitting in the meditation hall. I mean, who's harming you in the meditation hall?
Yeah.
So next time you're in a bad mood, turn back and look at him. You did it to me. But, you know, if you watch the way your mind says have to yourself. Watch the way your mind says should to yourself. Okay? And anytime you're have doing, anytime you're shoulding, you know, take your mind away from that kind of way of thinking and that kind of language. Yeah, because it's that mental state that's the problem. It's not sitting in the meditation hall. Because you could say, I can't stand sitting in the meditation hall. I gotta get my space from these people. I want to go pick flowers. I want to go work in the garden and pick weeds. And I get to the garden. Oh, relaxing a lot of that all. Pick weeds. And then you know, I walk by and say, you have to pick weeds for an hour. Oh God. I have to pick weeds for an hour. Oh God, again, you know, I have no space, I have no freedom, I'm boxed in. You know? Then it's like, oh, I just want to go to the meditation hall. Nobody's there. Get me out of this garden. You know, it's so quiet and peaceful in the meditation hall. Even there's other people, they aren't saying anything. I want to go to the meditation hall. It's true, isn't it? You know? So you know, next time, maybe if you come and you say, I want to meditate in my room, I'll say, okay, go 10 hours meditate in your room. Or even I don't say 10 hours, I say 1 hour, meditate in your room.
Are you kidding?
Who are you telling me what to do? I'll meditate in the hall. I don't meditate in my room. Do you see how berserky our mind is? Yeah? Oh, she's going, who, me? Who, me? Not me. I'm the perfect Dharma student.
I'm waiting for you to say, go do a walking meditation for an hour.
Yeah.
Can you say that to me?
Yeah, okay. You do? Okay, I will, because that's what I do. I mean, I go up and I do my practices while I'm walking, you know? But you know, if you always want to do the walk in the forest when you're supposed to be in the hall. And when it's time to go to the forest, then you want to be in the hall. And when it's time to eat lunch, you want to be in the garden. And when you're in the garden, you want to eat lunch.
No, I want to eat lunch. It's time to eat lunch.
Yeah.
And offering service is not on that list at all.
No, but sometimes we want to offer service. It's like, my mind's driving me crazy. Yeah. Yeah. It's true, isn't it? People are going, oh, we're so busy during the summer. All these people are coming. I can't stand being with so many people. And there's so much activity. I can't wait for a retreat. 3 months of silence. What heaven. Then after 2 weeks, it's like, oh, God, I've long. I need to take a walk. Can I go work in the forest? There's all these projects I didn't get done during the summer. Can I work on them now? Please? I really don't want to go to session, you know? It's true, isn't it? The office computer never looks so good. I want to go answer email. I want to go set up a new website in the middle of a retreat. Yeah. So we have to learn to work skillfully with our mind. You know, I'm not saying push. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying just watch your mind and what it's doing.
Especially for me, the part is that there were coping mechanisms, disappearing to my room, going off and stuff. I've used that all my life. So now that I have the Dharma, I still have that as the default mode, not questioning that. Maybe now I've got other tools besides the default of when I have to deal. So right now I'm in the process of questioning the old default modes of when I get in those difficult places, because they've been with me all my life. But now it's like, well, I've got a little bit bigger repertoire. They don't hold the same meaning for me because that's all I knew. So now to replace them with things that are for the long term.
Well, it's a difference between managing our stuff and actually trying to change it or transform it. And we get by managing it for a long time. And we think that's what working means. So the idea of transforming it is radical.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe we should do what John Fowles suggested. Everybody do what they want for 2 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
You can do whatever you want, whenever you want to do it. And then see if you're happy at the end of that. Everybody does whatever they want. You know, you want to cook, you don't want to cook, you want to do your chores, you don't want to do your chores. You want to come to teachings, you want to wake up, you don't want to wake up. Yeah.
Yeah. I
You have to do it one at a time while everybody else does what they should, though. That's the trick.
Yeah. No, I think it's more fun. We just create chaos. Create the chaos. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's going to do whatever they want.
Let's start with 3 days.
When do we start?
Yeah. Yeah. And just see how it goes. You know, everybody can go in the refrigerator, get whatever they want, you know, whenever they want it. You know, so it doesn't matter, there's people sleeping in here. If you want a midnight snack, you go in the refrigerator. If you want to sing in the middle of the, here, downstairs, you sing, doesn't matter, he's sleeping, you know. And go Tommy house if you want to, you know.
I can go to the Tommy house?
Yeah, you can go to the Tommy house. And you can practice, you know, pounding on the walls, and you know, you can do anything you want. And
So we'll recreate the communes of the 1970s.
right. Right.
To me, it sounds like recreating my mind. The reason I'm here
Yeah.
to learn anecdotes to my mind.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll try that. Not tomorrow. Yeah, we have a retreat coming up, so.
And not during ordination.
Yeah. Although it could be interesting to do during retreat, have 40 people here and everybody does whatever they want to. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, shall we dedicate? And we'll do I had wanted to finish this up this week, but we'll do it next week. Okay, but you all have to come.
Just for that one.